Hello, hello. Welcome to the Story Darlings podcast. I'm Sandra.
And I'm Tara.
Tara, who do we have with us today?
So we have another special author with us today. Her name is Jade Kim Monsen, and we are talking about her book, which Sandra is showing. I've only got the audio, or not the audio, but the Kindle book.
And you say it Nylos in the Cache, right?
Yes, Nylos in the Cache, that's right.
It's so pretty.
It is pretty.
Jade, was it last year that Milk and Blood was published?
Yeah. And so actually the same cover artist did Milk and Blood, and I talked her into doing fantasy where I wasn't sure if that's what she wanted to do, but she can do it. She can do all of it. So
This was her first fantasy cover?
yeah.
It is
Yeah.
beautiful. Stunning.
Thank you. Rachel says thank you.
Aww. So I finished this last night. I didn't know that it was the start of a series. So I'm going to be asking, so when is that question?
I know.
Well, I'm going to point out that this one came out on August 5th, right? So we might have a little bit of a wait, Sandra, on a second book. Just throwing that out there because this one just came out. So
I know it just came out, but Jade, how long has this book been in the works? Like, what was the inspiration behind it, really?
Oh man, I've honestly been working on it for over a decade. The second book won't take that long, I promise. But this was like my first attempt at a book. So I literally kind of wrote in circles for a while, and love interest changed and things like that as I lived my life. So it's been a long time. And I actually think I was so afraid to publish it that I ended up writing Milk and Blood and publishing that first because I was just I don't know what to do with this one. So it took a second.
Dipping your toe in. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
How has your indie journey been as an author? I know that I feel like it's been so fast the last couple of years, but you've pretty much done every aspect of it, from cover to formatting to editing to searching for readers. So how has that been?
Yeah, it's been full of surprises, and things that I thought would be easy ended up being difficult, and things I thought would be difficult ended up being easy. But I think as long as you enjoy it, it's the way to go. I really love all the things. For the book fair that we had today, I found out I was in 3 days before. So I was up at midnight designing a banner to have behind the booth. And but I love that stuff. So I think as long as you love it, the ups and downs are okay.
I'm sure it helps that you have a marketing background too, right? So you always have that hat on.
It totally does. This morning, they actually sent out an email and they were like, the AC is broken. So bring a mini fan. And I was like, you're freaking kidding me. And then I went and I looked up a store where I could get mini paper fans to hand out to people. And I was like, this is a marketing opportunity, and tried to turn it. So the marketing background does help a little bit.
I want to talk more about the book here because you have 3 POVs. No, we actually get a fourth POV at the very end.
This is true.
Oh, talk about cliffhangers. What character? Because we have Ava, we have Candlant. Am I saying that right?
Yep.
And then we have Chin Chin. So cute. Do any of those characters resonate with you the most? Do you see yourself in any one of them more than the other?
So I definitely relate most to Ava. I think that she's totally motivated by love, whether it's infatuation or love. That's just how she makes her decisions. And I am guilty of that too. So I really relate to her. I also very intentionally made her a mixed race, which is something that I just kind of dealt with growing up, especially in Utah. It's just a very different vibe. So I still go into places and be like, okay, I'm the one brown person in the grocery store today, and kind of have this mental. But then when I go to a Korean church or something, and I don't speak the language, there's that barrier there too. So I really wanted to explore that with Ava as well.
So I mentioned this because I clowned a lot while reading parts of this.
Oh, Tara.
You clowned a lot?
I clowned a lot.
Squirrel.
I get off on tangents when I'm reading, and I'm like, oh, that's a new word to me. Or I feel like this is diving into something else. And so I will go and Google and be like, okay, what does this word mean? Is this maybe a hint to something else? Is this a spider web that I'm going to need to know later? Is this pointing to something else? And so I did that a lot. So I was a little slower at reading than Sandra was. I wanted to know, because I'm also a very mythology, stories of cultures. Did any of that, from a Korean standpoint, make its way in here?
That's a
Or
good
are some of
question.
your characters, some of like specifically like the monster and things like that, are they potentially like did they come from somewhere or is it just like you had a mind and you're like I'm gonna make up this monster?
That's okay. That was a lot of questions in one.
Yeah, it
So
was. Sorry.
I'll start with the monster. So the Vika was really interesting to me. I actually was inspired by The Witcher. I
Okay.
think The
Mm,
Witcher has really freaking cool monsters. Like I just
totally got that vibe.
yes,
Yes.
okay, good. You're picking up what I was putting down. So I love like the lore, and I think that like I was just talking about this with my husband who like edited the whole thing, but like villains, I don't want it to just be a monster for a monster. Like I want there to be like even if it's just a small kind of aside, like an origin story of where they cut like they came from. And so the Vika was really important for that, and I think at the time actually, um, I was well, there's a lot to dig through here. But like I don't have a very good relationship with my dad. And so there's definitely like a disconnect of like the child to the parent. And so I think I was like exploring some of
Mhm.
those feelings, which I probably should do in therapy, but I'm doing through writing. So exploring
Hey,
some of those feelings.
writing
We do
and
what we gotta
reading
do.
sometimes are the best therapy you have.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So that's kind of where the Vika came from. And as far as like the name goes, I actually am like trying to remember. I think I just wanted something that sounded, sometimes I just go like phonetically, like I wanted something that sounded very aggressive and kind of like uh disruptive. Like as soon as you hear the name, it's very like, I don't know, hard for me. It almost sounds like German, I guess.
Mhm, mhm. I love the origin story of that monster. I was getting, Baba Yaga, like, that's what I was picturing
Yes.
as it, very spindly, right? It's like,
Hmm.
I don't know what the backstory is of Baba Yaga, but that's what I kept picturing, and I know there's, like, Greek mythology out there around, like, monsters eating children, but not quite this way, so definitely got that Witcher vibe and loved it. It just made it so interesting too, like, this propulsion point for Ava's journey, right? Like, that
Hmm.
was the immediate hook for me, but then we got this character named Chin Chin, and I
Hmm.
hated her at first. I was like, "What is you're doing horrible work." But you turned it around for me.
Oh
Was she
wow.
your
Okay, good,
Lysandra
good.
in this?
I always liked Lysandra though, and,
Even when
Throne
she
of
was
Glass if
being bitchy? You liked
ugh,
her?
yeah,
Okay.
there's a power in being quote unquote "bitchy," but no, Chin Chin I loved her arc because she was such a complex character to me, but I feel like I identified most with Candlin. I would say he was
Mm.
probably my favorite Jade.
He's my favorite too. He's my favorite
Ah.
too. Yeah, I have a soft spot for Canlin.
You put him through it in this book. I felt bad.
Are we doing no spoilers here? Because
I feel like that's up to you.
I mean, we can here, let's do this. We're going to hop into spoilers right now. So if you want to tune out just for a little bit and we'll let you know.
Sandra can put like the little chapters in, like here's the spoiler chapter and like
Yeah, we can do that because I would love to talk spoilers.
okay, so everyone has jumped off now, and I am like so bad at keeping secrets. And I've watched your guys' show. Like I am like, oh my gosh, they're gonna pull all the threads, and like I'm gonna have to like have a straight face for book two, and they're gonna ask questions, and I feel like you guys do such a good job of that. Like it was with I think it was Spark of the Everflame. Is that
Oh,
yeah, you guys were just like pulling at threads and Quicksilver, and I was like, oh my
poor
gosh, if
Jesse
they
on
do that
that.
to me, like I'm gonna just break. But so for book one, Canlin, what was super interesting, kind of like in an eerie way, is I'll try not to totally spoil things, but he ends up going through like he ends the book with a disability. And I had written him losing a limb before my husband had his accident. And a lot of the inspiration from Calvin was my husband and him growing up in like LDS church and leaving the church and kind of like exploring that.
I w- I was wondering, I know nothing about your husband, but the way you lit up when you said that he has a soft spot in your heart, I was like, I feel like this is her husband. That is the connection and why he has the soft spot. So, like,
It's pretty undeniable. There's definitely like things I pull from different areas. Like my dad also left the church, so I pulled in themes, but it was crazy that I wrote him in like a very emotional scene where he like loses a limb. And then it was like a year and a half later that my husband like almost had his leg like severed. So he kept his leg. He has his leg on, but it was funny because when I first wrote it, it was just the arm, and then we went through like what it was actually like mobility wise without like being able to walk for a very long time. And I was like, oh, I have to write about this, and like what better way to do it through like the filter of fantasy. So I ended up going back and changing it to like have that to be able to kind of write what you know, I guess, and like write those feelings out. And it totally changed the story. Like I remember even with my husband and his leg, he was like, I wish it was my freaking arm. Like I can't stand, I can't walk, I can't, you know? And so it was like a really weird thing though that I had like written it in the book first and then like the accident happened. So yeah.
Okay, so moral of this, because like I don't know, not jinxing things, but like don't write any more bad things for your husband, apparently.
Yeah, then he wins the lottery in the next book. So
Okay, so hopefully that also comes in for you.
yeah.
I mean, those scenes were so brutal, and as I'm reading it, when he's being worked on and helped by gears, and he has
Mhm.
the spikes through his leg and stuff, I was like, "Oh, this seems so specific." I'm like, "Is it inspired by some stuff that happened?" I that's so tough.
Okay, and I
Yeah.
know Gears isn't like a main character, but like as you were telling about Gears, and specifically there was a line of that he would never turn anybody away, but she knew he was overworked and stuff. I don't know. I felt a connection to Gears in that when
Mhm.
we're being introduced to him.
Gears was a really fun character to play and or play. I didn't play him, but I wrote him. There's so much more to come for book two. So House of Hasek is on the map and it's like mentioned in book one. And a lot of book two will be in House of Hasek, which is kind of like the healing center for the cache. And so that's where we kind of mention like Gears has been, and he's kind of like there's a unsaid story there of like he left, he
Mhm.
like didn't agree, like did he get kicked out? I don't know. So there's a lot more of a story with Gears.
And there were some hints to secrets, 'cause it
Hmm.
mentioned that, like, he had some of the secrets. I'm sorry, I went, like, rabbit holes on, like, "Okay, what could these secrets be?"
Well, secrets and memory are also like a huge theme in the book. So like we have the mud walls and things like that, and they're very powerful. I guess is what I should say.
Jade, this was such a cool world because, I mean, at times it felt like straight up fantasy, but it also felt like that sci-fi infusion in it too, because you're talking about these black tablets, like these little things, and I'm like trying to wrap my mind around it. But then also when you're describing the world, there was like one reference to an hourglass and how walking through the sands, you're just like kind of
Hmm.
sucked through onto the other
Hmm.
side. Is that am I completely off my rocker? So is the tunnels like the middle where they join? Is that like what am I picturing
Yeah.
that correctly? Like help me visualize this.
Yes. Yeah. So there, man, okay, let's answer your first question. So the tunnels is under is underground. It's very close to Questus, and it's usually like pitch dark. It's lit up by like neon flora and fauna. If you got some like almost nightclub vibes, that is
Uh-huh.
correct. And again, I'm gonna bring up like Utah, like in Salt Lake City specifically, like you have the church, you have like very modest society, like above ground, I guess I should say. And then in Salt Lake City specifically, like it's funny because as like conservative as Utah is, like Salt Lake City actually has like a very big population of like queer folks. Like there's a huge counterculture that exists in especially Salt Lake City, Utah County, not so much, but Salt Lake City. And so I wanted the tunnels kind of represent that like hidden counterculture to Questis and the blood and that religion. So it is actually like literally underground in the desert. And it is kind of like that first step northwest, southeast to Pagra. And so there's just like the location is very, I guess, being below the blood is very intentional. And then to your second piece, like it is super like juxtaposition with sci-fi and then fantasy, right? Like you almost have Questus, which I like imagine like more stone castles, like what you would think of in like fantasy. Pagra is very much that where they have like the black glass and it feels very much like a tech world. And I think that's one of the things that you can get away with for better or for worse when you self-publish, where I could totally see, traditionally they're like, is it sci-fi or fantasy? Choose one and like pick a world. We can't have, tablets exist next to horses and like swords and I can't have that. Like I have to include everything and I want it to be a world where, you can have like guns match up with swords and powers match up with, just all kinds of things. And so that was something where I was like, this may turn some readers off. It's not really, you're not really allowed to have like sci-fi next to fantasy in that way. And I did have some feedback where people were like, I don't know about this. And I was like, I do, and I'm going to do this I'm going to do this. And this is why I'm doing it myself kind of a thing.
Yeah, that piece is so integral to the
Hmm.
story, I feel like. Chin Chin, I know I gave her a little bit of hate for the work that she was doing, but also, like, don't you feel like that's a woman's experience working in tech, right? Especially if it's for a company that she could give two shits about the work really and kind of questions the values of that, right? So in a
Yeah.
way, I'm like, oh, I'm so mad at this character, da da da. But also, I've done the same exact thing, basically. You know,
You totally nailed it on the head. Like, woman in tech is totally chin chin, just like trying to figure it out and having to be like a boss woman and probably like the person I wish I was as a woman working in tech in some ways, but I'm not always that way. I'm just more like, kind of, I'll just go with the flow here. So um, she definitely, and again, I keep bringing up Utah. I didn't realize how much like the landscape, inspired the story. But we have like Silicon Slopes here, where all these tech people have come in, like in Lehigh, and like there's like totally a tech bro culture here. And so I didn't realize until afterwards, even though it's so obvious now, that it was like the tech world of Utah just like taking over there, and like everything was innovate, innovate, innovate. Like at the cost of anything, we're just gonna like move the needle. And I'm just like,
I no, I feel you. Toward the end, when she's faced off with like the 100, I just kept picturing. I can't remember what gender these people were, but she was just facing off this big group of people, trying to capture her and get her back. And I was just like, oh, I definitely see the parallels there. On the topic of Chin Chin, I loved her relationship with Maya.
mm-hmm,
And then Rocky and Burns were also favorite characters.
mm-hmm,
The whole system of the owl and the power with kind of shuffling memory around and that being
mm-hmm.
locked up, I loved that.
Yeah, I talked about this a little bit with like memory and Rocky's character. And I actually remember listening to another podcast, and I can't remember what it was, but they were talking about memory and just like it's so interesting. The more you like try to remember something, the like less true that memory becomes. Like every time you remember it, something
Yeah.
changes. And also like how traumatic experiences, like you can block them out entirely. Like just memory in real life is actually really crazy. And so, um, it's so funny how, yeah, real life facts and just kind of geeking out on that inspired the story. And so with Rocky, um, again, they all play like really big parts in the story, obviously, but I really wanted to do something with memory and keep that going. And I love Rocky's character because he's just 100% for the Nylos. And like, I love him so much. And he's actually based off of my friend who is a little bit like gave him that like rebellious nature. So once
Mhm.
upon a time, this is like very poor young broke Jade, like just struggling, and I like saved up for this typewriter that I named Tom, and he was a Hermes 3000, and I was just like so excited to write, and I spent all my money that I literally couldn't buy a pack of paper to like put inside the machine. So I had to like save up. And I was telling my friend about this. And we were actually like walking through this office building because my sister had a thing and we were there to like support her. She was doing some like radio thing. And then when we came out, he like pulled this huge pack of like paper out for my typewriter, and he had stolen it from the office just like walking through. And he was like, these are your dreams, and like gave me the paper. And I just like that was such a moment. And I like tried to carry that like feeling through Rocky of like he like will break rules. He's pretty sneaky. Like he's very passionate, and I wonder if my friend remembers this. But yeah, so that's a little fun fact.
I love that fact. Rocky, I was worried about him, and I'm glad that he ended up being okay. But the whole memory thing was so interesting because at times I got flashes of something like altered carbon, right? Because they're able to
Mm-hmm.
kind of move consciousness into different sleeves or bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So it was interesting whenever Ava and Maya were fighting over real estate, like headspace, right? And whenever Maya would take control, and she was just such a badass and like an even
Mm-hmm.
stronger fighter than Rocky. And those were always so cool to see, just kind of how that character personality switch happened. So I love that. But it's like whenever you were talking about readers, like, oh, I'm not sure about the sci-fi thing. I'm like, the sci-fi thing is just so embedded into what the story is and all of the conflicts. It makes it so interesting.
Yeah, yeah. It was so fun to like have Maya and Ava together, and yeah, exactly like fighting for real estate. That's a really interesting way to put it, and I think that it's really interesting now because we leave the book. These are spoilers.
I know.
But
I wanted to ask something, but I'm like, I'm not sure if this is a spoiler or if it
um,
would require you spoiling.
well,
I just
I'll give it to you.
You don't have to
You
answer.
ready?
I'm like, "No, I'm like, "Is Maya okay? Like, is Maya in the room? Is she okay?"
Yeah. So, yeah, actually, I think that it's a good kickoff for book two. So, but let me just say that I know exactly where she's going, and so does
Okay.
Chin Chin.
Okay.
So, Chin Chin, she's always focused on Maya. That's her, similar to Ava in a way, but Chin Chin knows exactly where she's going. So,
Are they about to be roommates? Huh. I don't know. Okay, anyways,
that's a fun way to put it.
but another thing I'm so curious about is you've hinted at these differences between Keys
Hmm.
and Candland and how
Hmm.
they're identical but almost oppositely, I guess, their color palette and just the
Hmm.
energy that they give off, which is one of the reasons why I adore Candland so much because I feel like I see myself in him because I can be a bit of a downer. I feel like
Hmm.
when you're on a podcast and on social media, it's very quote unquote on, right? But
Hmm.
like me in day to day, very, very subdued, very deep and depressed and thinking about things. And you touched on the parent relationship earlier and how difficult those are. I know I have a very complex relationship with my parents. I know Tara has a complex relationship with her parents. So that like sucked me in too. But there were some interactions between Canlin and the queen, his mom, that absolutely gutted me because I
Hmm.
couldn't imagine if that was my child, like treating them that way and speaking to them that way. So I don't know. Canlin just stole like all the feels for me as a character.
Me too. Me too. There's definitely like a balance too of like one, the father is very absent in
Uh
this
huh.
book, right? Like he doesn't show up, and we get like kind of flashbacks of him when Callan's thinking of him, and he has like pretty fond memories, I'd say, with a few exceptions. But his relationship with his mom, I think, also is like I don't know if you turn it and look at it from the queen's perspective. She has like her firstborn, like the heir of Questus and the blood, and so she's got like this responsibility. And in a way, she's like set her firstborn up for success. And then there's this second problem child, and she just doesn't know what to do with him. And so there's definitely more that this is just going to be my track the whole time. More to come in book two, but there's more to come in book two about like these relationships and like the decisions that are made, and it is really heartbreaking. And I think there's even that scene, if I remember not editing it out, where in the aftermath, Ava is just like, do I tell Camden, who was not conscious at the time, what actually happened and like why we're in the tunnels getting help, or do I not? Like, do I protect him from that fact of like how they ended up there instead of where they could have been, getting help?
Mhm.
And so she has to kind of wrestle with that too of like, do I hide this truth from him? Is it going to be helpful? And that's kind of difficult too.
There was a line something to the effect of where the queen was like, "Oh, I prayed that you wouldn't come back," and I was just like, like
Such a
not this
line.
boy. He's so good, but he's just quote unquote the gloom, and I just feel so bad for him. And then you just really put him through the grinder toward the end, like literally. I was
I
just like,
know,
oh, this poor.
literally.
It's like okay, this is his darkest dark. This is his
Hopefully.
like he's underground right now. It's that bad.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that like you could connect with him because most of the people and like readers I talk to are like big fans of Ava, and like a lot of the beta readers really loved Ava. So I kind of like I moved her chapter first where her chapter wasn't first originally because I think I'm also like a sad reader. Like I love to feel things when I read, and like if
Mhm.
I can like cry and like if I wake up with like frog eyes next day, like the book has done its job. So I definitely like
Yes.
lean into that. But I also wanted like a central character with Canlin, like that wasn't just like, like the macho man that like everything is good. And in a way that's kind of keys, where he knows what to do in most cases, except for the second chapter. But yeah, Counter was a really fun and interesting character to like get those emotions out for sure.
Was it fun writing Key's perspective at the end?
Oh man, whenever I read that chapter, because I do like even the last line of the book, I just get like so stoked to write book two. Where I'm like, oh, this is gonna take off. Like I felt like it
Jade the
was so
sadist.
the villains are just so fun. And I mean like I say villain, and again like if we like jump into Key's perspective, like he's just doing the best to like play catch up to like protect his kingdom in like in a strange way, but in a way that he knows how. And we don't know where he was, like, or we do know where he was, but we don't really know what happened while he was gone, which is kind of alluding to like starting or ending with
Mhm,
him in that
mhm.
chapter. And I think that will also be like a really fun kind of not origin story, but like explanation of like where he's coming from and like what's at stake.
Okay, you mentioned
Mm.
writing a
Mm.
book too. How far are we in that?
No, the worst question
Also,
ever.
follow-up question slash prequel question, whatever you wanna do.
Yes.
How like, what was the publishing kind of process for this first book?
In what sense?
Well,
Like
like, okay, so we know it took you about a decade to write the book, right?
Mhm.
How long did it take you to publish? Like, I know you said your husband kind of
Mm,
edited for you. So,
yeah.
how long did he take? I'm doing math in my head. Like, okay, here's if you're started
oh god,
writing,
hold your butts.
here's like the
Yeah.
time it took to edit, and then it took this much time to publish. So, if we use the same trajectory, we're gonna get this book in.
Well, let's not use the same trajectory because I learned a
There we
ton.
go.
I learned a ton and like so many things. Like I starting this book, I refused to outline. Like I was such a stubborn little about it. Like I was just like, I'm not gonna outline. I just want to like let the words flow. And I let them flow in circles for like years. And I literally rewrote it from scratch, maybe like 12 times until my husband was like, no more rewriting. And I was like, whoa. And he's like, give it to me, like we're done. And I was just like, okay. So as far as outlining goes, we have loose outlines of book 2 and 3. And I will say that I'm like pretty determined to keep this as a trilogy. I don't want it to become, even though, Sarah J. Maas is awesome. I don't think I have the capacity for more than 3 books. So loosely outlined right now. We know how it ends. We kind of know like the character arcs and things, but not super detailed outlining, which I'm going to do this time. For publishing, it was really interesting because when I first I published Milk and Blood, being like, I want to go through the motions. I want to learn everything I can learn with Milk and Blood. Totally different book, but self publishing. And then with Nylos and the Cash, I was actually pretty determined to do like serial chapters from my Substack newsletter, where
Mm.
I was like ready to go. And it was actually my husband who like finished his read through, like final read through, and he looked me dead in the eyes and he was like, if this doesn't become a book that I can hold in my hands, I'm gonna be pissed. And I was just like, whoa, like, okay, and
Aw,
it was really,
husband?
yeah, I know. He's the reason I'm doing this book fair too. So he's definitely like making me do these things for the dream. But so I was planning on doing like a Substack thing and doing like a chapter every 2 weeks. And I actually like had it planned out for like when my baby comes in March, I will have these like chapters already scheduled and kind of thing. So I could have that already. And so I switched gears kind of later on. And honestly, the publishing can be as quick as you want it to be. Like, I actually remember going on Amazon when I was still in college and I published like a short story called Seeds and just like put it in there, use their little like cover maker. And 15 minutes it was like published. And like, like you can do it really fast. So it's kind of up to you on, what you want to do. And for me, like, I really wanted a good cover. And I had found Rachel, I actually used Reedsy. I found her, and then this time I had her email, and I was like, "What do you think, fantasy?" And I just told her I was like, "I don't want it to be big curly letters, and like, I didn't want people to think it was a romantasy, and like be misleading, and I didn't want it to be, yeah, like a heavy, dark blue medieval castle kind of look either.
Mhm.
I wanted it to feel different because it is different. And so cover took a while. I would say she took we maybe did like 3 months, like back and forth, like figuring it out. We got really close. I think where I like fell short this time is ARC readers. ARC readers was like, I think because I'd planned on the newsletter, I was like, okay, I started with like just kind of going through my network, which is super tiny. And then I used Book Sirens, I used NetGalley, but it was kind of like after the fact where I wasn't like getting enough. And then like I lost percentages wise with Milk and Blood. I had a much better like ARC response, I guess. Not in like the reviews were better or worse. And we can talk about that. But like I actually got more people to leave reviews for Milk and Blood because I just had done it so much earlier and I felt like I was kind of like racing to get it done for Nylos. So I'd say like I maybe had 75 ARC readers and probably like 6 or 7 of those actually left reviews in time for the launch, which was kind of like a short-sighted thing on my end of just not giving them enough time. And then me being like, read the book quickly, it's not that big, and it's like huge.
I mean,
So
That's what
to
Sandra
give your
did to me. She's like, "It comes out on the 5th, read it." And I'm like
come on, Tara,
she's
chop
like, "It's
chop.
not that big."
I
it's big.
yes, it's dense. I was gonna say give yourself more credit, Jade, because I feel like the audiences too, like moms get
Mm,
so just in tune with things that they're going to relate to. And Milk and Blood being that audience, I think that's why you just had I don't know if you want to call it a wider, broader reception, whatever. But this
Mhm.
book is so special, but it is like a little more complex. Like the world, you don't
Mhm.
know if it's really sci fi, you don't really know if it's fantasy. And yes,
Totally.
it's YA, but it's also so grown up.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's such a mixture of things. It's hard to put a label on.
Yeah. And that was really hard too, honestly. Like, I can't tell you how many conversations I had with my husband and some other beta readers. Like, is this YA? Do I make it YA? And like, the ages changed. And I was like, the themes are really serious. You know, like we have like suicide, we have like
Hmm.
some really dark themes. But then you have like Hunger Games, which is YA, where you're like, okay, that's pretty brutal
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
for the kids these days. So that was really hard to figure out, and where I wish I had like, you know, if I did like the traditional publishing route, I would have had a team to be like, no, this is what it's going to be. And sometimes I wish that I had more of that, that decisiveness with like genre and stuff.
Somebody being a boss to you, like bossing you
Yeah,
around. Like
sometimes
sometimes
I
we
don't
all
want to
need
have to
that.
make it.
Like I don't want
I
to make
want a
the
mom.
decisions.
So true, so true.
Weird question for you, just because like as we're talking, I want to know this. And
I
since
love it.
you like I got the book on Kindle Unlimited, so spoiler
Hmm.
guys, you can go out there and get it on Kindle Unlimited. Do the authors get anything out of that, or is it like a numbers thing?
I know you're asking monetarily, but like you get to see the pages read as they go. And that in itself is like pretty magical. Like you can
Oh,
literally go
okay.
on your dashboard and like I literally screamed, I was like, David, 1,000 pages. And like when I hit my first thousand, so that's really fun. But you get paid by pages read. So
Okay.
which is really interesting. And so this is my first time trying Kindle Unlimited. I didn't do that with Milk and Blood. So this is another kind of experiment. But yeah, you get paid by pages read. And interestingly enough, it's also never exactly the same because it's based on like the the funds that come through memberships. So if you have like
Oh.
100 people paying in the Kindle Unlimited, that will determine like the percentage you get from pages read. So it's always different, which means more math, which I hate. But I like understand the concept now. And honestly, I'm one of those authors that's just like just seeing people read is so fun for me. Like if someone came up to me and was like, "Give me your book," I'd be like, "Okay." Like I would just give it to them because I just be like, they want to read it. But it's definitely I had a moment too with actually Milk and Blood where I had like, you have the production cost of the book, you have the royalties of the book, and then you have what you take from the book, but then you have to pay for shipping to get that either to you to distribute, which I did with Nylos and Cash. And I did with Milk and Blood too for like my website sales. And I was like doing the math, and I'm an English major. So I was like, okay, this seems right. Like, I want to put my book at a certain price where people can like buy it and like still have like feel good about it. And then it was like a few months in, this is such an embarrassing story, where I had assumed that they, that like the royalties that came out of the book, Milk and Blood, like I didn't know that they didn't take into account the like production costs first. So I was actually losing money on each sale. And I was like, I don't know why like authors don't just like put their book at this price. Like I'm still making like a good $5 off of each book.
I love you.
And I was like, no, 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 no. And so I literally like I had this was a Milk and Blood mistake. I like came into again, I keep mentioning my husband. I was like, I've been losing money. And he's like, I know, like you're gonna like right now you're investing and like later on when you have a
Oh,
catalog. I was like,
David.
no. I was like, every sale I've been losing money on top of the money I put into the book. And we like looked at the numbers and he's also an English major, but he's much better with math. And I was just like, and he's like, oh yeah, you've been losing money on every sale. And I was like, ah. So I had to throw my prices up. And I was like, these are why books cost this much because they're doing the math correctly. And I'm not smarter than any of them. So that's just like one of those like funny, like self-publishing moments. Like now I can laugh about it, but I
Uh-huh,
literally
uh-huh.
cried when I like first started. I was like,
Oh,
I
Jade.
literally, but it's funny now. It's funny now if I don't think about it too
Yeah.
much. So
Jade's crash course in indie publishing. Yeah, because you had like the hardcover editions too for Milk and Blood. I remember those are so
yeah.
nice.
So fun.
Doesn't I know you talked about and David was like, no, publishing is a serial, but Amazon, don't they have a serial platform as well? Was that the one you would have considered if
I You know, I probably would have just gone with my newsletter on Substack, because actually a lot of the pricing too, like if you paid subscribers, you know, and I would have made it optional. That was like my plan, like free for everyone. If they
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
pay,
yeah.
they can, because I just want people to read. I just want them to read my book. But as far as just like the cuts of royalty with Amazon and even like having like control over things too, you still have to give a lot up even when you're self-publishing. And so Substack would have been a way that I could kind of like keep everything in-house, so to speak. Like one of the examples actually like right literally like 48 hours before I published Nylos, I had like another meltdown moment where I was using Ingram Spark for like distributing it elsewhere. So you can get it, if you request at the library or whatever. But with Kindle
Mhm.
Unlimited, you have your exclusive ebook there. So I actually like uploaded my ebook to Ingram Spark, but put the publishing date as like January 2026 because I was like, I'll see how KU goes. And then I'll like see if I want to like do ebooks across the board, with like Kobo and stuff. And then it was 48 hours. So I was like writing my newsletter on like where you can buy your book. And I Googled my book and it was available to buy like on all of the sites. And I was like, oh my gosh, have I been pirated? Which I was like,
Oh,
is a
no.
little bit flattering. Or I was like, did something happen with Ingram? Like someone wants to sell
Uh-huh.
my book, and I ended up, fun facts, I'm going to like write about this for other authors. Like I had to talk with Ingram at 2:30 in the morning because that's the only time they could meet before like my launch. And they were like, oh yeah, if you give us information, even if you like put the publish date for January 26th, we'll just give the information and then all of the book stores will publish at their discretion. And I was like, well, I wish I would have known that before because now I can't use Kindle Unlimited if it's everywhere. And
Yeah.
so it was like in the nick of time, like an Indiana Jones hat moment where like I was able to like cancel all the ebooks that Ingram Spark had just suggested to sell for 2026 and get them off like literally hours before Nylos went live for Kindle Unlimited. And I wouldn't have had to worry about that with Substack and a newsletter. It all ended up being okay.
Mhm, mhm. That it
That's
did.
very interesting.
You do so much, Jade. Like, you are so on top of things with your newsletter and writing and momming and working. I don't know how she keeps this all straight. And then you said you didn't even outline the book. I'm just like, "What?
My
What?"
my story, if I didn't outline something, like, I'm not a writer. I would not be able to do that. I would give myself such anxiety in the first place. It would not be a coherent story at all if I did not outline.
Mine wasn't. Like mistakes were made and yeah, there's a lot going on and it's a lot to balance, but I think writing is also like so therapeutic for me that like it
Yes.
just happened. As someone like I have the background where I was like forced to play tennis and like it was supposed to be a profession for me and it's really interesting to like be kind of like competing at a high level there where it's not actually you choosing versus like you're choosing to do something. Like somehow there is always time and all that to say, like right now, while we're on this podcast, my husband's watching our two kids. He's going to be like bringing my newborn to me every 3 hours of the book fair so I can feed her. Like he literally, like he deals with, if the oil needs changing, like he has a mental capacity and like the invisible work that happens for me to like be on this podcast and like have my makeup on and be talking about the book. Like it would
Yeah.
not be possible without a team. And my sister is even like getting the booth ready at the book fair right now. So
Oh,
it is not
it's a
alone.
family
It is
effort.
not just me. It is, yeah, it is. It is not alone.
To answer Tara's original question, just give Jade a couple of years, and it sounds like she's gonna be doing a mixture of, pantsing and plotting because you have sprinkled in a lot of plot threads in the first
Mhm.
book, because we didn't even have time to talk about the Earth stuff,
Yeah,
which I'm
yeah,
very curious about, so I can't wait.
Okay, I have one final question, and it should be fairly quick, but I'm
yeah.
asking this of everyone because I find this very interesting. Okay, if this were to become a movie or a TV show, who would you cast?
Okay. Well, I already know. So my sister who lives in LA is an actor, and she would murder me if I didn't say Dia
Oh,
Frampton for one of the roles.
okay.
Like literally, she's
There you
actually
go,
like
Dia.
reading my book now. She just finished like another short film, and she was like, "I'm gonna see like where it could cast." She's like, "Oh, the budget's gonna be way too much for this book. It's fantasy," and I'm like, "Okay, well, you deal with it." But I definitely like actually for Camden, it's funny because I like looked at like different pictures and had like character profiles. I do like little presentations, and it was like I was a very young like Newsies Christian Bale
Ooh,
for
okay.
Camden that I
Oh.
had. Um, and for all the other roles, I don't know, but I definitely like had a Christian Bale vibe for kind of like the dark Batman too. Just like
Yeah.
don't do
Uh-huh,
this. This is
uh-huh.
the brooding kind of thing. So I definitely had him. Yeah, I guess my sister could play Ava, but we'd have to do some like flashback situations for that. Yeah, that's really, I do know though that I would love like I'm gonna like butcher his name. I would love a Taika Waititi to direct like and create my movie. That would be that him or Christopher Nolan would be amazing. But whatever, it's fine. Just
Yeah, yeah.
if he's listening.
I have an idea for you.
Yeah. Just a little pitch.
Did Rachel do sorry, I had one last question because we're
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about characters. Did Rachel do the character art as well, or is that somebody else?
Oh, yeah. So that was actually one of the really fun things I did for this. Like if you stalk my social media a little bit and scroll down, I
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
actually Yeah, I did a ton of character art for this, and I found a ton of different artists. And Misty, my sister, did some of them. She read the whole book and started to sketch. So I was like, okay, like do please do character art. But I loved like giving them actually the like character profiles I was talking about with like descriptions and like some like important like plot features and things and like personality, colors, because colors actually plays a really significant part in the book as well. And I had different artists just that I found a lot on like threads and social media. I did like a formal just like search for an artist on Reddit. And I found, I think, like almost like 10 different artists that I worked with that went through. And I was like, this is the character profile. You do what you think you would see from here. And it was so fun to see like the different depictions of the flying axolotl, like the different depictions of Ava. There was Chin Chin. And it's so funny because I think in like my notes, I was like, Chin Chin's hot. So like make her hot. And like just different things like that. I remember with Camden, I was like, there's a scar on his hand. This is like very significant. Like, make sure that that's visible. So, um, that
Mm.
honestly is probably the most fun part of it is like working with artists and like going that route. I didn't like actually have, I mean, there's Ava on the cover, and Rachel and I actually, the like second part of the, the, I guess, one of the final covers that we were looking at was just like Ava's face and like a very like direct, like visual look of her.
Mhm.
And I think that we decided to like back away from that because I really didn't want, to like prescribe how Ava looked to readers. I think that's the hard thing with like illustrations and things when it's like on the cover is like I remember your guys' podcast with Quicksilver and like the cover. I'm like, that was not Kingfisher. Like that was not who we were thinking of. And I actually like I had an audiobook. So when you guys were sharing the cover, I was like, what? Like that's the cover? And I like hadn't realized it. So I think like there's like a risk and like the man in the cover is beautiful, like great artwork, but also like not what I was expecting at all. And I didn't want to do that with Nylos.
Yeah, Tara can be very brutally honest on things like that, whereas I'm like, "Oh, it's
Hey, you were
fine."
brutally honest on that too,
I said
okay?
it wasn't my thing, but you were just like, "Let's talk about the cover." I'm like, "Okay, guess we're not inviting her on the podcast anytime
Hey,
soon."
she knows that that's not what readers pictured.
Beautiful
Yeah.
man, a beautiful cover,
It
but
was a
just like
beautiful
not what
cover.
I had in my
Yeah,
mind.
It
yeah.
Yeah.
just it
No,
just
this was
no.
perfect, and it's giving, like, some Dune, too.
I also
It's
Yeah,
like the
amazing.
like the opalescence of the sky.
Mhm, mhm.
yeah. It was
That's
like it worked out so well because like rainbow and again like colors are really important to the story and kind of speak to like the magic. So yeah, the map. So the map too. My coworker, my old coworker, we used to work together. He's like a serial hobbyist, is what he says, Michael Harrington. And I literally emailed him afterwards, and I was just like, "Dear Michael, are you interested in putting your hobby towards like to the test?" And he did such an amazing job. He did that for fun while having his fourth kid. Like he was so busy and he still did it, and I'm like blown away. And everyone's like, "Oh, Jade, you have a map. Like you're writing a legit fantasy book." I'm like, "Yes, that's what I'm
yes.
going
It's
for."
legit.
It's a
Yeah,
legit book, it's a legit story with legit characters, and this map is amazing.
yeah, he
What
did
was his name
awesome.
again?
Michael Harrington. Yeah,
Alright, shout out Michael Harrington.
yeah, yeah. Really good.
Jade, as we wrap up, where can listeners find you to learn more about your forthcoming work and check out, Milk and Blood and get a copy of Nylos?
Yeah, so you can always. I'm like trying my best on TikTok and Instagram. So Jade Kim Monsen is where I'm talking about everything. And still figuring out how that all works. And then jadekidmonson.com is my website where you can get a book. People ask me a lot. I get a lot of messages of like, where would you prefer me to buy the book? Or,
Mhm,
should I do a
mhm.
Kindle Unlimited or are you not getting paid? And I really like whatever you prefer. Like if you buy off the website, I can sign it, which is nice. I always like, they come with really, really cute matching bookmarks. So that's just like a little, and you get like the rainbow box. So if you want that like full experience, my website's where to get it. But if you're, ordering from Amazon and you want Prime shipping and you want to get there, or if you're a Kindle Unlimited reader, like get it wherever you would like. And the paperback should be available. Like it's available on Barnes and Noble, all the websites. You should be able to request it. Or if you're a local bookstore person, which it's always fun to order through your local bookstore, you can do that. There's just different options. Choose the best option for you. Don't worry about me. If you're reading it, I am stoked. So
Aw.
yeah,
Everyone, go pick up a copy of Jade's book, Nylos in the Cache. And she is about to go jet off to the Salt Lake City Book Fair, right?
yeah,
Is that the
yeah.
one?
That's where I'm going.
You will have survived your first book fair experience and your podcast
Yes,
interview.
that's so
Yay!
true, yeah, and thank you guys so much for having me. I literally, like, I'll listen to you guys while I'm, like, doing the chores or watching the kids, and our reading lists are very similar, so I'll be like, "Oh, they're reading Quicksilver, this is awesome," or, like, they're reading so I love seeing you guys read, and I listen to you guys and laugh with you guys, and I'm so glad that you guys didn't, like, go hard on me for spoilers because I would have broken so quickly. I would have been like, "Here's what happens in book 2."
Aw, I love it. All right, any last words for listeners before we say goodbye?
Oh, man, just keep reading. Keep loving to
Mhm.
read and keep staying up late. I think it's hard to get into books sometimes, especially when you've had a break, but when you find that book, it's always a good time, so keep reading.
Yay, I love that. Jade, thank you so much for joining us. It was so much fun, and we wish you luck at the book fair.
Thank
It'll be
you.
good for you. Stretch you. David's
Oh,
right. It's
good.
good for you to get out of your comfort zone.
Oh.
Shout out to David
You
too.
try.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks for
okay.
listening, everyone. Jade. All right.
Bye.
Bye.